Hi, I'm Robin Birkin, an ex-corporate marketer turned online business owner. I took everything I knew and created a six-figure life coaching business in the margins between nap times and a 9 to 5, and I'm here to share with you how you can do the same. Tune in as I share the raw and unfiltered truths, big lessons, and practical tips to help you build and grow a sustainable bread-winning business online that is both peaceful and profitable. Here, we dive deep into all things online courses, funnels, audience growth, and so much more. If that sounds like the things you want to learn, then welcome to Signature Online Course Secrets. Let's go.
Hi, and welcome to Six Figure Signature Offers. Today, I'm talking about another one of the questions that I get asked all the time, or I have people coming into my mastermind and my higher ticket spaces, and they'll write on their application forms or their intake forms, I just want to go evergreen, or I've come off the back of a live launch and it hasn't really worked, or I'm burnt out by launching. So my plan is to launch the course and go evergreen. And if this is you, this is everything that I'm going to speak about today, because I've been there, I've done that, I've thought that. I speak about this in yesterday's episode. So if you haven't listened to yesterday's episode, whether you want a membership or don't want a membership, at the beginning of that episode, there's two things that I speak about. One was the peace and profit decision framework. So this is the three questions that I sort of ask myself whenever I'm problem solving something in my business. And I speak about when I went evergreen with my online course as a life coach. But the other thing that I'm doing, which you may be interested in, is I speak to exactly what is happening for Sold Out Signature. It's happening next week. So if you do want to register, you need to be super fast, because I'm fairly certain we won't be releasing these trainings in this format again, or definitely not for free. I mean, never say never, but highly likely. But there's 8 different trainings. If even just one of those piques your interest, they're going to be like 15 minutes long. We're going to have an audio version, so you could listen to it while you're cooking dinner, going for a walk, whatever you want to do. Then please do make sure that you've got your name down on the list, because it's going to be epic. I'm so freaking excited about it. It's my own proprietary launch process. So far, the wait list for my new offer launching at the end of next week is popping off. And I'm like, yes, this is so exciting. Anyway, and I so firmly believe in this offer. Like, if you are ever, just a side note, launching an offer, and I had this conversation with one of my mastermind clients the other day, if you are launching an offer, you need to be so sold on your offer. You need to be genuinely sad when people don't join your offer and be like, oh, like they're missing out. You wouldn't say that out loud, but that's how I feel about my mastermind. That's how I feel about my new offer. I'm like, this is so valuable. And so you need to think that about your offer. If you don't think that about your offers, then maybe join me for Sold Out Signature. But you have to believe in your bones that this is so, so good, that it gets such great results, and that it is such massive value for money. If you are not sold on that, if you're like, average, it's never going to work in the way that you want. Anyway, that's how I feel about my new offer. That's how I want you to feel about your offers as well. So listen to yesterday's episode if you want to sort of dive into even just the intro of that episode. But today we are talking about live launching versus evergreen, smackdown. And if you've been following me for any period of time, you'll know that I love live launching. Here's the other thing, and once you see this, you cannot unsee it. So many, like 88% of the people who teach evergreen funnels are still live launching. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. They might not be live launching their core offer, but you best believe they're still holding live conversion events that lead into that offer. They have those momentum sprints in their business. That it's very rarely does anyone, and I literally can only think of one person in my mind, no, 2 people, big name $1 million entrepreneurs, only 2 people in the whole internet ecosphere who I have not seen live launch. One of those, and I'll speak about this a little bit later, does a weekly live webinar as well. So evergreen is a little bit of a myth. It also converts like a bucket of shit in the 2025 market. I have seen from behind so many closed doors that it just isn't it. And it's not it, not only for profit, but also for peace. That said, let's dive in and talk about the pros and cons and what type of offers you might have as Evergreen versus what you might live launch. So typically people will come to me, they'll join the mastermind or they'll inquire about my services, and the conversation generally goes along the lines of, I'm tapped out with one-to-one services or done-for-you services, like I'm there, and I just want to create some passive income in my business. I'm going to create a course and then let it run on Evergreen. Evergreen means that people can buy whenever they want, right? So the doors never close. It's not like, oh, we're taking an intake and then the doors close. It's always available for people to buy. And the attraction is that, like, shit, I could be making sales for this offer every single day in my business. And it's sold. People, like, that sounds so attractive. If you are burnt out in your business, of course you want low lift revenue. Like, you don't want to be every day like hustling, or you might feel like you are so exhausted. You are seeing the 7-figure entrepreneurs pull off these launches where they're everywhere. They've got 1 million affiliates and all of these things are happening. And you might think that seems completely overwhelming and too much. And so I get it, because a lot of that, like, I feel the exact same way, except Evergreen usually isn't the easy solution that you think it is. And the question that I would ask you is, why are you burnt out? Like, really ask yourself, why are you currently burnt out in your business? And it's usually going to be one of two things. Number one, you are fully booked. You're an OBM and you have just got a roster with way too many clients. And you are like, you're answering to 12 bosses, and you just every day is like ping, 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 ping on Slack, like too much, right? So you are frazzled and completely burnt out in your business because there's too much. Like, you've reached a capacity in both your income and your time. Like, there's no more that you can give, and you want more revenue, but you're like, I'm actually exhausted. Or option two is you're burnt out because what you're currently doing isn't working or getting the results that you want. So what you're doing is actually feeling maybe a little bit jaded because you feel like you're putting in the effort and the reward is not matching the effort that you're putting in. So either of those options, could be really viable reasons. Maybe you're also doing everything at the last minute and you are sitting there every night creating new sales pages. Maybe you are constantly creating and launching new offers. You're constantly recreating the wheel instead of the repetition and the compounding returns of launching one offer again and again, and having systems that mean that you are still creating like fresh content, but actually your core messaging pillars, etc., are the same, but most of what you're doing is actually rinse and repeat and systemized. So really asking yourself the question, why am I feeling burnt out and why do I want to go Evergreen? Do I want to go Evergreen because I want more sales? Okay, what would it look like to just get double my conversion rate? Which is probably the lowest lift thing that you could do. Or what would it look like when I launch to actually follow up with leads? The fortune is in the follow-up. What would it actually look like to just invest in Facebook ads and spend a little bit of money to make money without having to manually bust it on Instagram, for example? Because when we go Evergreen, so number one, most Evergreen program coaches are also live launching and holding promotions. But the big difference that most people, I don't think, understand is that going Evergreen is not an absence of selling or an absence of lead generation. It's actually more lead generation, and you are actually selling all of the time. So you may want to go Evergreen because it feels good to you to be constantly selling and having that mix of content, of having like consistently bringing people through problem awareness to solution awareness. And if you don't understand what that phrase means, come and join us for Sold Out Signature, because I will explain exactly how messaging works in a launch. But when you go evergreen, it just kind of jumbles up a bit and you're consistently bringing people through that problem solution awareness journey. But the other thing to consider with evergreen is that you need to be so much better at creating intrinsic motivation for people to move. So something you may or may not understand is that you might be looking at your offers and your audience and being like, why are you not investing in this? Because I know this is the best thing. Why wouldn't you want to, let's say in my scenario, why wouldn't you want to launch a signature offer that makes you not have to spend all your day like dealing with clients, and you get to go and like today I'm going to go get my nails done and go to your kids' assemblies and not have to answer any. Like, why wouldn't you want that? It's the best thing ever. So you might be looking at that and being like, why wouldn't you want to heal your metabolism? Why wouldn't you want to heal your gut health? Like, this is the freaking best. But what you don't understand is that, number one, everyone goes through your sales page and thinks they're a special snowflake, and there's a particular reason or circumstance that means that it might not work for them. That's how our brains are wired. But also, it takes more energy for someone to get over the hump of like go from staying stuck to say, okay, actually I'm ready for change. I trust myself enough that I'm going to do the work this time. You know, there's so much self-trust that goes into that. And for someone to be like, okay, now is the time, actually takes more energy than staying stuck. So people might think like, oh, that sounds really great to heal my metabolism. But there's actually like a real mindset shift that requires a lot more energy for someone to then say, okay, now is the time for change. So when you have a live launched product with doors open, doors closed, up to 80% of what gets people to buy that offer is some form of scarcity urgency. People need that line in the fence. So what you're doing is not necessarily convincing people to buy. You are there to say to people, okay, look, actually, it's time to make a decision now of if you do want this, like, and if now is the right time versus not. So when we have doors closed, it's not like trying to convince people to buy. It's trying to say to people, okay, is now the time. When you have an offer that is always available, even when it's like $100 off or whatever that is, you kind of really need to lean on another type of urgency, which is arguably even more important, but you need to be a master at this. And this is like internal urgency. The urgency that gets someone to realize the cost of staying stuck and the benefit of taking action and why they want to not be in the same place and get the results that you offer within the next 6, 12 months, whatever that looks like. That's that internal urgency, like why they would say, okay, actually, I don't want to wait, and why I do want to take that leap to get the result that I want. So when you have an evergreen offer and the urgency is almost like manufactured versus like you literally won't get the opportunity to join this offer again until 3 months' time or 6 months' time, naturally they need, start comparing the cost of waiting, etc., etc., etc. You're going to have their attention more because there's a momentum in your launch, where when you have an evergreen offer, it's kind of hard to get that, especially in today's society.
Are you feeling maxed out with one-to-one clients or tired of launching offers that never really seem to take off? You don't need more guessing and false starts. What you need is a scalable signature offer that's both simple and sophisticated, and that can actually add 6 figures to your business in the next 12 months. That's exactly what I'll walk you through inside of Sold Out Signature, my free 3-day bootcamp designed to cut the fluff and give you the exact steps to build a revenue stream that actually works. Just head to launcheasylife.com/scalable or come and hang out with me on Instagram at Robin Birkin to grab all the details. It's free, it's live, and it's happening this month. I can't wait to see you there.
Instagram, I don't know about you, but my engagement through Instagram has fallen through the floor, and I can see it in other people's accounts as well. But you're working that much harder to retain their attention without the momentum of a live launch. So manufactured urgency just doesn't work as well in an evergreen offer. So you really need to master that intrinsic urgency. And in fact, I am seeing, like, through my closed circles, people that I follow and things like that, evergreen like webinar funnels and also things like tripwire countdown timers just aren't working the way that they used to work. People are not converting as highly with those type of offers anymore. And so what you will also see is a lot of these people who have evergreen type offers running weekly live webinars to bring up that momentum and that energy in what they do. They will typically have lower conversion rates. So almost across the board, if you look at the conversion rate of an evergreen funnel, it's going to be about half what it would be for a live launch. And then that therefore means that in order to make the same quantity of sales, you'll need to double the number of leads coming into that funnel. Now, there is a caveat, so stay to the end and I will speak a little bit more to conversion rates. You're going to probably need ads because ads are going to be the thing that is going to get those leads through unless you are just like a freaking ninja in your social media and things like that. And then obviously there's the lack of consumption. And by the way, you probably need to iterate that funnel a number of times. So typically what I'll say is when we have people in the mastermind, so we have some people in the mastermind who have evergreen funnels, what we are going to want to do is like get at least 200 to 300 people through that funnel and then start to make decisions about conversion rates, what we need to change, what, does the conversion mechanism look like and how can we improve that? So there are some pros to evergreen offers. Number one is you get this consistent ability to test. So if you have a big enough audience or you are prepared to really go through and bring that many people through your evergreen funnel, hopefully you may already have a validated signature offer, then you are going to be able to essentially test more quickly. I mean, the absolute other end of the spectrum is the 7-figure entrepreneurs that do a launch once per year. If you do one launch per year and then the conversion rate drops off a cliff, that's hard. So what I teach is somewhat more mini low lift launches, but do them more frequently to get the results. But if you want to really see what's working in the market now, you have the ad spend to be able to put behind that. You want to be able to look at the data and really look at the data points of what's working, what's not. You may consider going evergreen, even for a period of time. But here's the other thing that you will get is you will get, if you have an evergreen funnel, more consumption of your conversion event. So you might have a webinar as your conversion event, and then you don't need necessarily a lead magnet. You would run Facebook ads straight to the webinar, so you wouldn't go through a traditional live launching flow of like we send people to the PDF and then we run the webinar and then we have doors open. You would be sending people straight to the webinar, but you would have more consumption, ideally, of that webinar because it's available instantly. It's going to catch someone at the point when they possibly are seeking a solution answer to the question that they have, and therefore you're typically going to have a higher consumption of that. Now, here's the other place where an evergreen funnel can be really, really great is when you mix an evergreen funnel together with live launching. The only caveat is you're not escaping live launching when you do that, you're supplementing with live launching. And the way that I typically look at this, so when we have people join the mastermind, we'll go through, plot out exactly what their revenue and their sales look like. We'll plot that against average conversion rates. And what we find is that the evergreen funnel almost serves this dual purpose of lead generation and warming up your audience so that when you live launch, they are already quite engaged. They know your approach, they know your framework, they know about your offer and your solution as part of that. So that is more of a hybrid style of launching. But if you are looking at going evergreen because you don't want to live launch at all, it's actually possibly not going to be the answer that you are looking for. So here's why I prefer frequent live launches or a mix of having some offers as evergreen with others that are doors open, doors close. So in terms of the offer flow, typically you're going to start with your signature offer. This is the thing that's going to make money. That's going to solidify your authority. I would always then recommend the next step is to go up with back-end premium profit drivers, ascension offers, graduate offers, continuity offers, that kind of thing behind the scenes, those super premium products. And then once those pieces are dialed in and you've got the revenue, you've got the time, you've got the space behind you, then I'd go down to feeder funnels. So feeder funnels are something that I would have as always available because you're feeding people in, you're warming them up in order to get them to your signature offer. And the signature offer is something that I would personally, in most circumstances, have as a doors open, doors closed model. And I like this because I get to sprint and then rest. I actually don't have the capacity in my personal life to be on all the time. School holidays, man. And holidays, going on holidays. Our family loves to travel. We have a camper. And so I find it really hard to be on all of the time. So with school holidays in the mix, it naturally fits within my life to have periods of sprint and periods of rest. And I look at my calendar for the year. I put my school holiday breaks in first, and then I work backwards from there to look at when I'm going to launch. The other thing is that I don't always have, I guess as someone who is in perimenopause, massive amounts of energy all the time. So again, I want to sprint and then I want to rest. I want to have periods where I'm like, oh, okay, what needs to happen now? So that's where having frequent live launches, like 4 to 6 launch events per year, works really well for me. I also like to sell and then serve. I don't like to be always selling and serving all the time. I like to have periods where I'm not all up in my head about selling and being in my audience's inbox all of the time. I like to have periods where I'm on, there's momentum, it's happening, I'm telling you to buy my stuff. And then I like to have periods where I'm just showing up. I like the momentum of a live launch, and I get really energized by webinars and that audience engagement. I will get off a webinar and I will be so tired, but I will also be so heart fulfilled by being able to provide exceptional value. I think if I was to just have an evergreen funnel, I wasn't showing up live, I wasn't really having that two-way communication with my audience, it would feel very ho-hum to me. So this is where for me, for my signature offer, that core offer that I want to be known for, that I want to anchor my authority into, is something that I prefer personally as something that is live launched or 4 times per year. And then, my other offers might be evergreen around that. But by and large, there is momentum. There's stuff happening in my business because I live launch regularly in my business. So if you are feeling burnt out by your business, I'm calling you back to that very first thing that we spoke about, which is what is really going on for you in your business? Why do you want to go evergreen? Are you burnt out just because your launches don't work? Are you burnt out because you're booked out? What is the real solution there to solve that problem? If the problem is solved by going evergreen, it works for you, it works for the way that your life works, by all means, rock on, potentially consider a hybrid approach. But otherwise, live launching is still something that works exceptionally well. And when you have rinse and repeat systems, actually gets to be fairly easy in your business. If you would like to learn more, definitely come and join us for the challenge next week. The link is in the show notes, and I'm going live again tomorrow with another episode all on pros and cons. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye then.
Another episode on the books. If you'd like to continue the conversation and get more super savable tips, come and find me on Instagram at Robin Birkin. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed, and I can't wait to see you next week.